It is June 25th, 2025, and fake police have tried to steal the Bogosphere. This is Inverted World Live. Welcome back, everybody. This is Inverted World Live. We're glad you're here. I am your host, Shane Cashman. This is a call-in show. Our phone lines are open. The link to call in is pinned to the chats below in both Rumble and YouTube. If you've got a weird story, some strange encounter you can't explain, you should call in and tell us about it. We have had some great callers these past few weeks. Last night was a wild one. Been thinking about it a lot. And the night before that was a wild one. We had 3 people in a row talking about missing time. Someone might have slipped through a portal, just couldn't explain it. He wound up in another town and couldn't tell you how he got there. I believe he lost about 7 hours. Went to knock on a door, eventually had police help him get home. We've talked about people with UFO encounters, people who've seen werewolves, cryptids, a wendigo the other day. So please give us a call. And if you hear something that we've talked about on the show or you've heard another caller say, you're welcome to call in and criticize me for something I've said you think I got wrong. That's awesome. Or add some more information to it. We will take as many callers as we can. If we don't get to you, I hope you call back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be our last show of the week, and we'll be back next Monday. But I am joined once again by Brandon. What's up?
What's up, everybody? Brandon Miner back again, 1 year older and 1 tooth shorter. Big thank you to Alex for taking the chair for me for the last 2 days. Huge help. Thank you so much. It's good to be back. Let's get weird.
Yeah, man. It's good to be here with you, man. It was you missed a wild 2 days. It was
Yeah, I saw some of it.
I was catching him up on last night's caller. You know, someone called from he knows about Antarctica. He's been to base 211, and I got a lot of messages about this guy. So at some point, if you're listening, you should call back, sir, and we will. I have more questions for you. And we talked about crop circles, and we talked about a crop circle that looked the newest crop circle in Wiltshire looks like a joker, which I think that's a hoax. Someone made that. It just looked a little too on the nose.
Yeah, speaking of on the nose, how about the fake crop circles on the Bogosphere? I am not letting this go. This thing is BS. I'm calling BS on the Buga.
Yeah, I've got a lot of weird questions about that thing, and we'll get into that right after this. Like I woke up thinking about crop circles, and I'm driving around at 8 o'clock in the morning through crops, and all of a sudden the song, the Steve Miller Band song, I'm a Joker, I'm a smoker. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm in a crop circle now. I was getting a little worried about to be abducted. But no, it was fun talking about that. And now, it's something I have not talked about a lot before, and I've been looking into now, because I don't take a lot of that stuff too seriously. But I do think there's something weird to those circles. I think a lot of them are probably hoaxes and things we just can't explain that are man-made. But they are strange. But the Bogosphere is back in the news. I thought this was going to be like a one and done situation. You might remember we had an episode, Brandon and I talked about the Bogosphere a few weeks ago. For those who don't remember, it was this like metallic sphere seen floating in the town Buga. And real quick, for those who are just now joining us from IRL, thank you so much for joining us. We're about to talk about the Bogosphere. It's back in the news, but just want to let you know, if you're just now joining us, this is a call-in show. The link to call in is pinned in the chat below on both YouTube and Rumble. You got a weird encounter, something you can't explain, give us a call. We're going to talk about it. But the Bogosphere, which was seen floating mysteriously above Buga and also in China, I think they still called it the Bogosphere, even though there's no Buga in China that I know of. It was captured by some gentleman who was out there with a metal detector. And then it was in a lab in Germany where they're doing all these studies. It looks interesting. It's like the size of a soccer ball. It changed temperature. It was possibly, allegedly, emitting some frequencies. And I was like, this is just another one of those things where these stories come and go. You never hear about it again. But it's actually inflated into something I did not expect, because just 2 days ago, they had a press conference in Mexico about it. A whole press conference. There were people there such as Dr. Stephen Greer and Rep Burleson, who was on a culture war recently with Tim, myself, and Tony Merkel. Rep Burleson is on the UAP committee, and he's on the JFK assassination committee. Interesting guy, has a lot of interesting info. But one of my one of my biggest takeaways from that show, which is really upsetting, was that, I tell him something that I just can't stand in those hearings is when the people who are testifying about these alleged non-human entities, they're asked a really important question, something that's like, this is the question, and I want to hear this answer. And it's always, I got to answer. I got to do it behind closed doors. Can't answer it in front of you, in front of all these cameras. So I asked him about that. I told him like how frustrating that is. And he went on to tell us, it's on the show, that even when they get behind closed doors, they still can't say what it is. So that just adds another layer of mystery to the whole thing.
I found this. I mean, I don't know how reliable this is, but this gives us some information back off of the press conference,
yes.
What was released.
Yeah, let us know about this.
And they're saying it contained a maze of fiber optic wires, suggesting that it could send and receive signals. Okay, so it's capable of radio. Everyone's car, dating back to God knows when, is capable of radio waves. So this isn't anything special. It's just a fancy way of saying it had a radio mounted in the dash.
Did they say they opened it? Because the last I saw, they said they will not open it, which I think is. I mean,
suspicious. unless they're obtaining some kind of scans or something of this thing.
They are. You can see them. They're like doing sonograms. Like it's like a pregnant lady. There's like a big scientist bent over the sphere of the sonogram, like looking inside of it. But I'm like,
looping it up. Yeah. Oh, it's terrible visuals.
For those out there, like, what do you think about not opening it up? Because like, okay, last time Brandon was here, we were talking about chasing a Bigfoot, chasing the sphere, right? You're going to go after it. To where do you stop? Like, if you have this thing, are you going to open it? Are you not opening it because you're afraid, because you truly believe this is something extraterrestrial and is dangerous? Although, we'll show you a picture in just a little bit.
Give me a crowbar, Shane.
Yes.
Give me a crowbar. That's what I'm saying.
It's weird because like I do feel that way, but I'm also the person saying like, don't open the sarcophagus. Is there a difference?
I mean, yeah, because you're the guy that's not going to open the sarcophagus. Right. And you're going to be like, hey, man, I'm telling you, don't do it. It's a bad idea. But you're still going to be there watching me, waiting for me to do it. Like a person watching someone get hit by a car and they just can't get the words out. Like, don't, that's going to be you.
That's probably true. I'm just going to be observing.
I'm opening that sarcophagus, though. I promise you. I don't care.
I'll get cursed just like in the periphery, though. But, these guys are going through all this work to study it. And, so if they're afraid of opening it for that reason, maybe it's another reason. I just understand. But I think if they're going to put that much work into this, why not open it? And but you'll see there's a picture somewhere you have it where they're touching it barehanded.
They're saying that it also has the ability to increase its weight without changing in size. Okay,
like show us this. Show us this.
Like,
so I was interested because, oh, wow, it's back in the news. I can't believe we're still talking about this thing. So here we go. Can you scroll up? Is this the one with the hand on it?
This is,
there it is. So, okay, so they can't be that afraid of it. They're holding it with their bare hands.
It's about the size of a little bit bigger than a basketball, I'd say.
Yeah, and so we don't have to find it now, but for those who were watching the episode last time we talked about the Bogosphere, you might remember the photo of the lab where they're all in like hazmat suits with this thing. So I'm like, maybe this was before, and the guy didn't know. He's just like, this is cool.
Yeah, but then they had the picture of the guy that found it standing outside in like a maternity photo, and like looking from the side, holding this orb. And
right. He did say, and I, take it how you want. I don't know if it's true or not, but there is a quote of him saying it. He got sick, and he believes it was from this thing. He got COVID from the Bogosphere. Classic. So how it goes down. Okay, so that was all happening. Went to Germany. And I think even when we talked about it that time, there was an instance of them saying it like they had lost the chain of custody at some point. It was like ballots in Maricopa County. They were like, we don't know where they went, but it's back now. I'm like, all right. And this is one of the better photos we've seen of it. It's making me really second guess the whole story.
Look at how bad this is.
Like, what do you guys out there think of this thing? Is this evidence? Because they are touting this as evidence of extraterrestrial life. They are making this a thing now because they just had a press conference, like I said, in Mexico. Rhett Burleson was there. Stephen Greer, who I'm not so sold on, but I like listening to these people talk about these things. And they're on stage basically saying, I'm paraphrasing, you can go look it up. They're like, well, we haven't done enough studies yet, but we're confident this is non-human. And it's the same thing we always hear with these people, especially at these testimonies with like the UAP hearings, with non-human life, spacecraft, not of this earth, a vehicle not of this earth is what it said. So now it's like, now we have our politicians going to Mexico to talk about this thing. So it's becoming a thing. And so before I get into like my ideas on why it's becoming a thing, a bigger thing that I anticipated, let's pull up that article from, where is this? The Daily Mail, of all places. It's been like the Daily Mail. I gotta say, shout out to the Daily Mail. They do keep up with this. It's like them and Newsmax. But there's a lot going on. I think I sent it to you, but I'll start reading.
Yeah, go ahead. I gotta pull it.
So, this is the big news, guys. As of 2 days ago, men disguised as police attempt to steal sphere-shaped UFO after new information is revealed. UFO researchers in Mexico claim that a group disguised as police have tried to steal the mysterious orb scientists believe may prove the existence of aliens. Now, I didn't need the sphere to know that. I have seen Adam Schiff in person. I know aliens are real. Demons, rather. Dr. Stephen Greer, an American ufologist and retired physician, revealed on X that fake policemen, that's a quote from him, attempted to enter the vault in Mexico City where the suspected UFO is being kept while scientists examine it. Known as the Bogosphere, the small metal orb was spotted in March over the town of Buga in Colombia, zigzagging through the sky in a way that defies the movement of conventional aircraft. There are plenty of videos on YouTube, at least a decade old, of similar spheres doing things like this in the sky that people have made. Just want to put that out there. You can look it up. I think there was something where they have it in some sort of net and maybe some like thin wire and connected to a drone, and it looks like it's floating. So from a distance on a cell phone camera, you're not seeing the net so much. It's just it looks like a metal orb in the sky. But look at this thing. It's got a new cage. It's moving on up. The object was recovered shortly after it landed and has since been taken to Mexico to be analyzed by scientists who have discovered a maze of fiber optic wires, like Brandon was just saying, inside that suggest it can send and receive signals. Okay, so I don't think they've opened it, but I think that is from their little UFO sonograms. And that does also remind me of weird things. The idea of signals coming and going and the idea of aliens, that's an old
The idea that they haven't figured out what it's made out of yet is really, I've been talking about it for a week and a half now.
Yeah.
Why the hell don't we know what the outside composition of this thing is yet?
I think they know.
They have to.
I think
you're telling me this at the first. Oh, we're not going to go inside of it. Then what the hell else are you studying?
Right. I think they know.
Man, they're getting on my nerves.
But when it comes to speaking of teeth, this is a great one. You know about Lucille Ball? Remember Lucille Ball? Like I Love Lucy.
I Love Lucy. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know about how she was driving in the desert way back when, and she believed that she was receiving alien signals in her filling? Yeah. It turned out that, this is the official story, so who knows, but it turned out that her filling was actually picking up radio signals from like a military base. But she believed she was actually receiving messages. Technically she was, if that's the true story, but she just misinterpreted where they were coming from. So maybe you should watch out. The Bogosphere is just a really big filling.
That's nuts.
It is crazy.
Poor Lucy.
Okay, so controversial UFO researcher Jamie Mawson, who has had several claims about extraterrestrials debunked in recent years, hosted an international conference to discuss the latest findings on the Bogosphere on June 20th. U.S. Congressman Eric Burleson of Missouri and Dr. Greer were among a group of American officials in attendance when Mawson claimed that the imposters attempted to steal the Bogosphere. Now, this is getting like crazy now, right? Now we have not only a sphere that fell out of the sky that we are studying now. Germans have had it. Mexicans have had it. It was in Colombia. It's just like musical sphere over here with the scientists. But now there was an attempted robbery. I continue with the Daily Mail. Greer added that scientists have already taken samples of the UFO that, and this is a quote, will be tested in a state-of-the-art lab to determine if the sphere really is from another planet. I'm just curious on that part. Like, where are they judging that? What do they have to base that off of? Mm-hmm. Do we have other planet materials that we are going to base it off of? I guess they're just going to run it through everything we know of on Earth, and they're going to go from there.
I suppose they could be checking it for things that we've already found, asteroids, meteors, that type of stuff, found out in space.
Yep.
But who knows? Because they still haven't told us what the hell it's made out of.
Maybe this is like asteroids are like clams, and this is like the pearl inside, and this is just what happens. We just
According to them,
haven't
the
seen it yet.
pearl is fiber optic wire, which last I checked, humans make.
That's right. Unless some other species gave us that technology a long time ago, and we're just not finding it. So those scientists and their information have been provided to the top law enforcement. Any sort of attempts to interfere with the examination will be known, and the people and perpetrators will be held to account for it, Greer said in his post on June 21st. It's not any government's right to protect knowledge about extraterrestrials if it exists, Burleson said on Friday. We have too many people reporting and too many videos to ignore it. And I agree. He has been trying, despite what I said earlier about people testifying, giving very vague answers, while also like dropping like insane things about having like biologics that aren't from Earth in our possession, while also saying we don't know, we can't say anything else, and no one's seen anything. And some of these whistleblowers have been caught lying, and they've been caught sharing images of what they thought were motherships that were totally debunked. But again, maybe the debunk is fake. But I saw that image, and it looked like it was from a Will Smith movie in the 90s. It was like a mothership over a city, I think, as shown at some like private UFO gathering that was leaked. Anyway, according to researchers at the conference, this is the first UFO recovered by private citizens and solely controlled by non-government scientists, as far as we know. The attempted robbery came right after Mawson and other researchers revealed that they are trying to reactivate the sphere using an electrical charge. What do you think about that? So let's turn this thing back on.
I mean, at this point, why not?
Why not, right?
If it gets us some answers on this thing. Oh, hey, we got a radio signal that we sent to it.
What if it just flies away and alerts more?
If it's meant to pick up radio waves, then yeah, you're going to get a radio frequency out of it. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about sound. That's why I started playing drums.
According to Rodolfo Garrido, a Mexican engineer working with scientists from the National Autonomous University of Mexico, UNAM, the sphere gave off a strong, decaying, ionized field. That field was responsible for somehow dehydrating the field it landed in, killing all the grass and soil there, which will remind people of last night and what they say some crop circles do when they say the plant life has been affected in a very strange way, not in certain ways that you would expect with certain machinery, like tractors and whatnot. So, a little tie in there. Maybe.
Ionizing, I can see being like a natural dehydrator. So, like, that's one thing. In cases of fake crop circles with people actually going out there with ropes and 2x4s and laying stuff down, that's going to kill everything underneath it because you're blocking the sun.
True.
So, like, I can see both of those, but, like...
I wonder if they're testing this grass. I hope they are. If they're taking this seriously, which I'm going to say I'm not. But I think it's what I'm taking seriously.
Technically, that should be marked off as an alien quarantined area
it would
until
be,
they prove otherwise.
In any sci-fi movie, that would be a crime scene that you couldn't get to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, how hard was it to be around
blocked
UT?
Off by a giant, like, man-made dome that's put there with people in hazmat suits and guys with AR-15s guarding it 100% of the time.
But no, let's just touch it with our bare hands. And maybe we'll take some pieces home.
Oops, I got sick.
Yeah. The June 20th presentation also revealed new images of the interior of the Bogosphere, showing the nucleus of the device appeared to be similar in design to inventor Nikola Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower from the early 1900s. We talked about that on this show with the great Richie McGinnis. It's out there in Long Island. Or on Long Island. I forget how those people out there like me to say it. I always get grief on saying that wrong. Alex, you're one of them. But he did try to build that tower, and he, allegedly was trying to communicate with some other species. And I know you guys know, but I have to say it. Donald Trump's uncle collected all of Tesla's stuff when he passed away, under the Alien Securities Act or whatever it was, to make sure it was all safe. I'm sure they did something with all that stuff, but it's fascinating. The concept of the tower was to send electrical power through the air and ground without using wires, potentially providing free or cheap energy to homes, businesses, and even ships or planes, which is, that has been in the news a lot lately. We also talked about with Ashton Forbes. He talks about that as well, and also Orbs. So, this Tesla thing is always interesting when you see his name pop up. I think we've been using the government's been using his stuff for quite some time, and they don't want us to use it. Garrido said the Bogosphere may have operated in a similar way with a miniature Wardenclyffe tower hidden inside the UFO. Okay, so if you're looking at it,
it's a
on
bicycle
side,
air horn inside of this thing.
right? But they're
what
I don't know why they didn't flip it, because it does look like the tower if you flip it, but instead it looks like an eye or a horn like this. However, the engineer told reporters that scientists have no plans of cutting the sphere in half to reveal what's really inside.
Did you ever see the Star Wars BB-8?
Of course.
How that was made with a magnet thing kind of hanging over, and somebody actually made a functioning one that just worked off of magnet. That's how
funny.
the head was able to stay detached while it rolled.
Right.
This looks like a similar setup to that on the interior.
Yeah.
And they're just not showing you like what's in it.
It's like so much sci-fi. You said it. What's that quote? Sci-fi becomes sci...
Oh, science fiction precursor to science fact.
Right, and there's so much stuff that has been written about over the years. Like AI existed in sci-fi short stories 80 years ago. All this stuff. Look at this guy. This is a guy who was doing a sonogram, by the way.
Yeah, he's weighing it out to see how much money he can get for it. God.
Oh, that's hilarious. It's like the produce, you're checking out. How much does this thing weigh? Instead, they're working on plans to power it back up so the sphere will begin rotating and levitating again.
Yeah, it's going to blow up.
I hope they're filming this. They better, but they won't. But maybe they will. It could be a theory that once it levitates, it could have direct communication with whoever sent it, Garrido said through a translator. For now, Greer said that scientists examining the Bogosphere at UNAM are setting up security for the metal samples headed for further testing. Did they not do that prior to the fake police entering? There has been no confirmation of Mawson's claims about the robbery attempt. That is also interesting. And at the bottom of the story, the journalist has been tied to several debunked claims, including multiple incidents where Mawson claimed to have evidence of a real UFO sighting, only for it to be debunked as a comet or star in the night sky. Mawson has also claimed to have discovered physical evidence of mummified alien corpses on 3 separate occasions, but none of the incidents have proven true. During the June 20th conference, Mawson put pieces of these alleged corpses on display for the researchers and government officials, including Greer and Burleson. I'm going to stop there. We couldn't find the photos. The photo's buried somewhere in the press conference. But there is a photo of Congressman Burleson holding what this guy Mawson believes to be the mummified hand of an alien. It's a big white hand, and they're not wearing gloves.
I'm going to scour the internet for that tonight because I need to see this.
If
hilarious. I can get a hold of it, we'll bring it on the show tomorrow.
It's hilarious. Like, why? So yeah, for those who are listening and not watching along, we were just playing one of the videos that were captured of the Bogosphere, and then when it landed, I was listening to someone else. I wish I could give them a shout out. Some other YouTube channel. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, but they made a good point about there's no video of the sphere landing. There's video of the sphere floating.
Yeah, it's just you just saw it right there. Yep. The last shot is it just on the ground in the grass, like, oh, there it is. And
so that's interesting.
And the other fascinating part is it's only flying around in the area of the guy with the camera.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think that's very interesting. Maybe we should show the people really quick the mummified corpses if they hadn't seen those.
Ooh. I love mummified corpses.
Yeah,
Hang on.
This is a good one. And then I'll get into a little bit of my thoughts on this, and then we'll get to callers. And so here you were looking at 2 pieces of cake.
I don't even think they could be considered that. They're like no bigger than the size of your hand.
It's 2 pastries. Yeah, they are small. I don't know if it's going to be in this video. Maybe play it, or some of it, or scroll through, because there is video if you see someone holding it, and they're really small.
Around the world this week are now the subject of much controversy. For Jaime Maussan, a Mexican journalist and longtime UFO enthusiast, the alien-looking forms are among the most important discoveries in the history of humankind. But for many scientists, they are an already debunked, perhaps even criminal
stunt. It's paper
mache. Maussan gained instant international attention when he stood before Mexico's Congress just days ago and presented the 2 figures. He shared scientific analysis and study results he argues
like
prove
ET.
The bodies are about 1,000 years old and not related to any known earthly species. Reuters gained exclusive access to his office to see them. The bodies appear ancient and share characteristics with humans. Mason claims they were found around 2017 in Peru.
Porque es lo más importante que le ha pasado a la humanidad.
It is the most important thing that has happened to humanity because it's the opportunity for us to evolve, for us to grow, for us to maybe initiate communication with other intelligences. I think this phenomenon is the only one that gives us the opportunity to come together.
Until the
But the
sphere.
backlash from the scientific community came just as swiftly as Mason's newfound fame, with scientists and archaeologists in Peru calling the bodies a farce. Reuters correspondent Cassandra Garrison spoke to Mason about his research.
And he told me that the scientific analysis and data studies that he's been presenting this entire week actually were done on a different body that remains in Peru. And the two bodies that he presented here in Mexico, he's not done scientific analysis on, saying that he didn't want to damage the specimens. And I think that could potentially change the
very
conversation.
convenient.
We can't cut open
But
the
we
sphere.
had scientists
Can't touch
independently
these.
review the results who told us that they do not represent anything out of the ordinary and certainly indicate
they're
normal
weird.
life on Earth.
I mean,
Mason is no stranger to
I don't know if I'd go that
controversy,
far.
having
Honestly,
participated-
like they don't look like normal life on Earth either. They look like the caricature of ET.
It does.
They're weird. I know
Only
there's other
much, much
theories
smaller.
out there, like ancient species. It could be, or something like that. but
Also, how did they carbon date these things if he hasn't studied them at all?
he hasn't. He hasn't touched those.
He's
There
basing
are
it all
others.
off of one other body that
Yep.
he has.
And
you
at
can't
some
see
point,
it. You're not allowed to see
At
that.
some point, I hope we find that other photo that was from this conference where you see him handing Burleson his hand, ungloved. They're not too worried. It looks like
I gotta find that.
Spirit Halloween. That's how I see it. So that was a perfect frame to end that in. Why is this happening, guys? Why? I mean, I know I want to believe in a lot of stuff. That's weird. But I just know it's a hoax. It's a fiction, and they're trying to capture our imagination for many reasons. But the first thing that comes to mind is one of the things we talked about on a show recently. We know about the Pentagon making up alien stories to distract you from secret military tech. That's just, and then you could be like, you can question that, and that's okay. I question that too. Why do we know any of this stuff? Why do we think they want us to know any of this? Why are they telling us this now? You always got to question why that is. But that is one way of looking at it. It's a hoax. These people might not even be a part of it. I'm not saying Burleson's a part of it. This Mason guy might not even be a part of it, but they are used to help push it. I think it's weird that they're going so hard on the sphere now. The other thing that comes to mind is that maybe they're doing it as this like slow drip process we've been going through for the last decade of ramping up this idea of aliens to bring in what I think would be the fake alien invasion, because it would, like the Project Bluebeam scenario, where they project something into the sky to try to bring about a new world order, to have everyone coalesce around a fear or a love, because the Bluebeam isn't just like an alien thing. It could be a like the second coming in the sky, and people coalesce around that. They believe it. Kind of like, we didn't talk about it, but there's images out there of people praying to a cloud that looks like Christ. I forget what that was recently. But it's that sort of thing.
In fairness, there's people out there praying to like watermarks under overpasses that look like the Virgin Mary. So.
Pancakes. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That
the
is
pancake.
That is
Forgot
a
about
thing.
that.
Was that pareidolia? Is that what they call that thing? Where you see an image and something that's like not really there, and I get it. I see things that aren't there all the time. But I'm not going to turn that into my religion. But
There's also people in Chicago that worship the rat hole, which is just basically somebody laid some concrete down and a rat died and fell into it and created a little like rat thing that they just left dry. So they call it the actual rat hole, and it's been visited. It's like a tourist attraction now. It's like the Bean. People go to the rat hole, they
that's
leave flowers, they
hilarious.
throw pennies in there, and it's just a little like hole in the
That's
concrete where a rat died.
hilarious. I love that. That's so Chicago.
Rat hole.
It's so Chicago. It's a good name for a band too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's interesting that they're taking this story to such a great length. And then, like I said, I don't really believe this sphere is what they say it is.
Nope.
Brandon and I are pretty skeptical. If you guys have different thoughts on it, call in or comment. I'm very curious how we all feel about it, because it's now turned into this thing where there's a conference, an American politician is there, he's holding alien corpse hands. this guy rolled out those little mummy aliens into the Mexican Congress a year or two ago. That was a total joke. That was like the Epstein binders of mummy alien corpses, just a total farce. But like, why are they trying to legitimize this thing? And perhaps this fake police thing is part of the hoax. Could be. It's happened before. People do a fake crime on themselves to boost their, to amplify their message. It happens a lot. There's influencers who've done it. There's people who've done it. It's like a false flag in a way, in order to kind of capture your imagination to get you on board for whatever this narrative is. Because this narrative is creeping up and it's really become mainstream. But it's funny that as it's become mainstream, the people don't really seem to be all that on board with it. Like everyone ridiculed those mummy corpses when they were rolled out into the Mexican Congress. It was a total joke. And the sphere, I know there's a lot of people out there who really want to believe in that, but it just doesn't look like, it looks like something we made. It looks like something we made, and I find it funny that people take it that seriously. But then it's like, maybe they're doing it all to legitimize it. I don't know. I'm very curious what you guys think. Like I said, the bottom of that article, buried at the second to last paragraph, it says there's not even confirmation on the robbery. So there you go. I mean, Mexico is also a crazy place. They had like 30 political assassinations there just last year, at least 30. So we know it's a wild place, and maybe they take advantage of that. And maybe there are other people who want it. Maybe there's other enthusiasts who are like, we want it because we don't trust these people, and they're going to try to do tests on it. Very possible. But my gut is saying this is all part of the hoax, and they're trying to push this narrative for various reasons, like the blue beam when I was saying, or just this idea, like you'll come across that phrase from a lot of these people, like Mawson, when they say this is our only way to evolve into something better. They say that a lot. So whether you're religious or not, I just find that very interesting, that is their thing of like, they need this new finding to push humanity forward. It's like, in my opinion, a false progress that they're trying to engineer for all types of various reasons. So let me know what you guys think. I'm very curious about everyone's ideas on these spheres. I think there'll be more. I think we'll see more copycat spheres, perhaps, and we'll probably see more talking about this. I mean, with Burleson on that committee, we'll probably see our politicians talking about this more, and we should just keep our eyes on that. So let's get to some callers if we have. Do we have anyone lined up?
Yep.
Sick. I mean, you guys, the callers, I love you guys. The callers have been amazing. I'm very, very grateful for it. For those who are joining us while we're talking about the Bogosphere, phone lines are open. We're going to take calls till about midnight, depending on how many we get through and how long each one goes for. There's no theme. If you have a weird encounter, weird story, or a thought on something we've been talking about or something like that, give us a call. It's audio only. The link to call in is pinned in the chat below on both Rumble and YouTube. Let's get to our first caller.
All right. We are going to bring on Zachary.
All right.
Zachary, you're on Inverted World Live. If you could unmute.
Zachary.
Hello.
Hey.
How you doing?
Could you come back to me next caller? I got to do something with my daughter really quick.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
absolutely, man.
Yep.
All right, thanks. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
I know how it goes.
Cool. All right.
Like a circus act with 3 kids.
Michael Harrison, you are on deck. Let's get you in here.
Michael,
what's up?
I am here.
what's up? How you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're good, man.
Good,
Thanks
man.
for calling
Welcome
in.
to the show.
Yeah. I was just listening to the live feed, and all of a sudden you guys popped in my ears. So
Spooky.
What's going on, man?
So yeah. Oh, I got a bunch of stories. Well, first of all, how's your mouth doing? Did you get a tooth yanked out?
Yeah. It sucks. But I'm back. We're doing okay. The hard part's over, so that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Good to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yep. I listened to the Danny Jones podcast with you, Shane, and it was a really good conversation. And
Thank you.
Just wanted to say, like, your journey to find God was like extremely similar to mine.
Awesome.
My daughter actually wanted to go to a local church, and we had no ambitions to go, but she kept asking. And then we started going because of her. And we realized like it was a safe place for her to be and to have that structure in her life, to protect her from all the wokeness that's in this world and whatnot. But and then I slowly started getting into it, and because at first I really wasn't into it a whole lot. It was mainly for her. And then I started reading the Bible, started praying, and have found my way to God, kind of similar to your story. I thought that was pretty interesting. But
that's incredible, man. Yeah, well, that's great. I'm happy to hear it. Yeah, that's exactly how it was for me too. Not taking it so seriously, just doing it for the kids, and all of a sudden I'm like, this is pretty cool. So that's awesome, man. I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to touch on something before I get to one of my stories about the crop circles.
Yeah.
There's been a few studies done on the actual plants after a crop circle has been formed, and there's been some potential structure and cellular changes in the plants. Like I think it's called nodal swelling, and it kind of changes the plant growth. Like it'll speed up the plant growth afterwards. And there's been a few studies suggesting that it was microwave radiation that would bend and weave the plants together, because a lot of times the crop circles aren't just pushed down like the two guides of the board, running through the field type thing. A lot of times they're weaved together in a very intricate pattern. But some studies have suggested that microwave radiation was responsible for bending these plants because they see changes in the structure of the plants. And there was something also to do with the embryonic structure of the plant, like how it reproduces, how it kind of changes and modifies that in a way. So because crop circles I'm kind of on the fence about too, but after reading these papers and stuff, there's a little bit more scientific backing showing that it's not just, like I said, two guys with a board running through a field type thing. Like the actual plant is being affected by something that is pushing it down.
Did you saw that image of that Joker face crop circle? What did you think of that?
I don't know. The faces to me, I don't know. Like, I'm on the fence about them already. So when I see the faces, I'm like, okay, maybe. But when you look at some of these patterns that they create in these fields, at night, and sometimes in a matter of minutes, sometimes, there's no lights involved, no one notices anything going on in the field, and the next morning there it is. And they're more they're more patterns and stuff that are very, very, like I said, very intricate, and would be very, very hard to do by hand, to lay something out like that at night. I don't know. But when you look deeper into it and you start seeing the evidence of the plants actually being affected in certain ways, kind of, okay, something might be going on here type thing.
Yeah, I went from being like really not interested in these things to really wanting to interview people who've dealt with them firsthand, all types of people, farmers, scientists, police, all that stuff, and get like a more well-rounded view on them. Because I kind of thought they were just like a silly thing, honestly. And the more I look at them, there are some that are very crazy, and they claim to have been made in seconds, which is insane to think that's a possibility. But yeah, I'm now like
there's
interested.
Good.
No, that's it. I'm good. You can take the floor is yours.
Yeah, there's a physicist. His name is Richard Taylor.
Okay.
That's pretty involved in studying crop circles. If you want to look up a name and try to get in contact with somebody, but Richard Taylor might be a good one.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm done rambling now. So I got all kinds of crazy stories, man. I've lived in haunted houses. One of my parents' homes was extremely haunted. They had a paranormal investigation team come out and set up cameras and do the whole bit with psychics and all that. I've seen UFOs and I've seen orbs and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I definitely, when I have time, I'd like to call back and share some more with you. But tonight, I'll tell you guys an orb story, since you guys are talking about the Bogosphere down in Colombia.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's hear it.
But
Bogosphere.
Okay. So yeah, the Bogosphere. I don't know about that thing, man.
Not me. I'm right there with you, brother.
yeah, Hoax. I'm leaning towards that a little bit. It feels kind of pushy, when they start pushing stuff like that, and then we're not going to cut it open. We're not going to do this with it. It's like, okay.
We haven't found out what it's made out of yet, but we'll let you know. Come on.
Made in China on the inside.
Seriously.
yeah. No, made in Taiwan. Come on.
True.
So my story involves an orb of light. Let's see here. One night I was driving home. It had to have been about 10:30, 11 o'clock. So it was dark. And I lived in Northern California at the time. And it was in the foothills, lots of pine trees around. And driving home, cruising along. I had a Ford pickup at the time, diesel. It's kind of loud. And I'm cruising along, and I see a light above my truck, kind of above the trees. And it looked like a helicopter spotlight at first. I'm like, oh, there's a helicopter going at night. That's kind of odd for up here, being up in the hills. Normally they're out during the daytime busting grows and stuff. That's the only time you see a helicopter in that area. But cruising along, and this thing is following my truck. And 5 minutes go by, maybe 6 minutes go by, and I'm turning left off the main road onto the side road to head to the house, and it's still there. It's above my truck, probably 50, 75 feet. The average tree height out there is probably 60, 70 feet. And it's just seems like it's above the trees, maybe 10, 20 feet. Kind of hard to get a gauge on the height on it. But there it is. So I pull over and shut my truck off because it's kind of loud, and roll down the windows, and I hear nothing. There's no sound. It's dead silent outside. And this light is just cruising right there, right above me. It's kind of going maybe a little bit slower now that I stopped my truck. It was going about the speed of my truck because it's keeping up with me. So I sit there in the parking lot, watch it for a little bit. It just kind of cruises around, going real slow, kind of going northeast still, same direction I was traveling. So I jump back in the truck, fired up, and I head down to the house. And I noticed that when I got back on the road, that this thing picked its speed back up and it was directly above my truck again. And I'm driving, get down a little farther. This house I lived in was way off the beaten path. So once you get off the main road, it starts getting pretty windy. And this thing is following me. Like, I come to a stop sign, it's above me. I take off. I'm starting to wind down into the canyon. It's above me, following me above the trees. And I get to my house and I get out in the driveway, and it didn't come all the way down to where I parked, but it was above the tree line, maybe 200-300 yards from where my truck was. And it was just going back and forth above the trees, completely silent, completely bright white in color. Kind of, it might have been going 10, 15 miles an hour, just back and forth, left to the right. It'd go up a little bit, and then it would drop down behind the trees a little bit, and then it'd come back up. And I watched it for probably 15, 20 minutes, like, what the hell is going on? There's no sound. And I eventually just went to bed. And I got up early the next morning. I was like, probably got up about 4:30 to head back to work. And I come out to my truck, and sure enough, that light is still out there. It's almost in the same spot it was when I went inside the house the night before. And there's still no sound. It's still as bright as it was. And it's still kind of going in this random pattern, back and forth above the trees, down below the trees, above them. And it's just completely silent. And I sat there and watched it for probably another 10 minutes or so before I had to leave for work. And like I said, there was never any sound. It never took off at any crazy speeds or nothing, but it tripped me out the night before because that damn thing was straight following me all the way from the freeway. And my house from the freeway is about 20 minutes. And I noticed that thing about 2 minutes off the freeway. So it followed me for a good 15, 18 minutes. And like I said, it was there all night. It was there in the morning. Now, when I went to work the next morning, it did not follow my truck back down. It didn't follow me back down the hill, but I watched it as long as I could while I was driving back up towards the freeway. And it was still there, just hanging out, bright as ever.
That's crazy. Did the light emit so that it was like cast on the trees at all? Like, did it light up any of its surroundings?
No, it did not. No, there was no light coming down to the ground. It was really weird because when you watched it, when you looked at it, you could see that it was lit up, but it wasn't so bright, like a spotlight bright, but it was bright enough to tell that it was a light. But yeah, it didn't shine down on the ground or anything.
Did it reflect off your truck at all?
That I don't remember.
Just curious, like
this
if
is quite a few years ago. Yeah, this is
like
probably
how
back
strong.
in 2008,
Okay.
2007. So it's been a minute. But I mean, when things like this happen, man, they stick with you, and you remember.
Oh yeah.
A lot of details.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
You know?
I was going to ask about the sound, but you said it was silent.
Yeah, completely silent.
And you said a bright white light that followed you. And when it was following you, did it stay kind of at the same level the entire time? Did it move up and down at all? If you could tell?
No, it stayed at the same level. I mean, it was pacing my truck, because I was looking out my front windshield at it, and it was on the same spot on my front windshield the entire time I was watching it going up the hill.
Did you tell anybody? And like anyone else see it?
So I told my mom about it, and because she lived in the same area, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I see orbs in the canyon every night." Well, not every night, but a lot. My mom used to smoke, so she'd go out on their back porch, and her back porch looked down into a canyon where a river was. She's like, "Oh, I see orbs out there all the time." I'm like, "Really?"
Interesting.
And she showed me one night. What she saw. I happened to be there, and she had a granny flat, like a basement, that was finished, and I lived there between houses a few times in my life. And so one night while I was living there, she brought me up and was like, "Oh, here's the orbs I was telling you about." And from her back porch, she looked down into the canyon, and the night I went up there, there was 3 different lights down in the canyon. Same thing, they were bright white, and they would float up probably 50, 75 feet, move back and forth a little bit, and then they go back down. And they weren't synchronized together necessarily, but they were all kind of doing a similar thing. They would move up, move back and forth, and go down. And sometimes they would move to the side and then go back up type thing. But she was like, "Oh yeah, this is normal. Like orbs are always around here."
Bizarre. What do you think it is? Any idea?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like watching it, seeing it, I didn't have any sort of feeling about it. I just noticed it. Maybe because I've seen and experienced a lot of weird and unexplainable things in my life.
Right.
Made me sort of numb to it a little bit, but I just didn't have any sort of feeling about it or nothing. I just like, "Oh, there's a light, there's an orb, it's following me. This is weird." When I went to work next morning, I was like, "Oh, there's the light, got to go to work," type thing, you know?
Right.
When was the last time you seen one of these things?
That was probably the last time I've seen an orb like that.
And this was what
according to
year?
my mom,
I'm
it
sorry.
was pretty common. So
What year was this?
that was in 2007, late 2007, early 2008.
Okay.
Yeah, now I don't live in that area anymore. My parents sold that house probably 5 years ago now. So, but that's actually the house that was extremely haunted, and they had a whole investigation team come there with psychics and everything, which we can get into another time. But
definitely,
that house was insane. I don't know if it was that area that there was a lot of activity around there or not, but there was a lot of history in there. It was an old gold mining town and stuff, so there was a lot of history in the town. But that house specifically was extremely haunted, and that was the same area where I saw the orb that followed my truck, and the same area where we saw the orbs in the canyon too.
Interesting. Any military bases nearby? Anything weird like that?
Nope, nothing. The closest one would be Travis, which is way down in Vacaville, down in the Bay Area.
Okay.
But we were probably 4 hours from that, up in the mountains in NorCal.
Seems like there's a lot of weird stuff happening up there.
Oh man, like there's like the mystery booms. I can send you a link to a story about that.
Yeah.
Like I made the news and all kinds of stuff. Like it was a strange area. Like I said, like there was a lot of history with the gold. The gold was discovered in Coloma, right down the hill from where I lived. So it was like, you know, a lot of history from the gold miners and stuff. But yeah, it was. I lived in 2 houses in that same area that were both haunted, like extremely haunted, like crazy, weird stories coming out of both those homes. So
well, you should definitely call back and tell us some of those stories. And if you can, send me that link that you were just telling me about. I'd love to see about that. And we appreciate you calling in, man. That was awesome.
Yeah. So I did email you a while ago when you had just the one night a week show.
Okay.
I don't have Twitter. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Instagram. I don't have any of that stuff, dude.
Good for you.
I own my own business down here in Southern Utah, and I have no time for like social media whatsoever.
Better off.
So I don't know if there's other way to contact you or not, but I'm out on all those platforms. If
you want to hit up that email again, I'll look for that.
Okay.
Cool, man.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you for your time. Of course. I appreciate you guys and keep up the good work. Love the show, and I'm glad your mouth's doing better.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You have a good night. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, guys. See you.
Sweet. Strange white orb seen over Northern California. I like stories from Northern California. It's a strange thing. Strange place. I haven't been there yet. That's a place I really want to go see. Definitely want to see the dystopia of San Francisco. Haven't been there. You been there?
Yes. One time for a show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the one time I managed to get In-N-Out burger. So
oh, nice.
That was pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Well, let's take another caller.
Indeed. Let's hop back to Zachary here because I want to see this guy finish any of his stuff. Otherwise, we'll go to somebody else here. Zach is back.
How's it going?
Hey, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. Welcome to the show, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks for joining us. The floor is yours.
Well, just as what you guys were talking about, I work in San Francisco, and I live about an hour away.
Nice.
It's
okay.
a hellhole, so don't come visit. Unless you want to see the zombie
I
apocalypse.
hated driving there, honestly. It was a nightmare.
You are selling it to me. I did leave New York because there was a zombie apocalypse there, and I have some nostalgia. So maybe one of these days.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Like, for instance, just a couple times when I was working there, starting at like 5 a.m, I do like construction, and walking down the street, there was literally a guy like nodding off, and I'm walking with a couple of my coworkers, and I like look up because I'm like chatting with them. I look up, and this guy like is like kind of swaying back and forth, standing up, and I look down his hand. He has a syringe just full of, who knows, probably fentanyl. And I'm like thinking, like, dude, what if that guy I bumped into him or he fell on me? Like, I would have died right now. Like,
oh my goodness. I just read a story. I think it was in France. Some people went and stabbed like 200 people at an audience with needles.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like totally depraved stuff. So scary. Wow. Yeah. Well, that sounds like a real wonderland out there.
Yeah, the pizza wasn't that great either. I was mildly disappointed. Kind of like New York. I was like,
yeah, we're like pizza like douchebags because it's like you got Chicago.
I'm spoiled.
I'm New York. We're the terrible people because we have great pizza. From. But anyway,
I digress.
Well, the first thing I want to say is your guys' show is awesome. Been listening for since you guys started, actually.
Thank you.
Because I'm a long-time Timcast listener.
Awesome.
So you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
And then I think a couple of weeks ago, you guys were talking about, was it Timothy Alberino?
Mm-hmm.
And about his story down in Peru or whatever with
Yep.
So I like heard on the Sean Ryan show, he did like a deep dive into that thing with the supposed miners with jetpacks or whatever.
Right, that was the official story.
Yeah, well, that's what. So I don't know if you listened to that whole interview on Sean Ryan, but he like really went deep dived into it, and he basically was saying how those two cops that went and investigated this little tribe were just like basically like paid off cartel cops that were just like trying to make a story go away or something. So they're the only two people that went and investigated and came up with that story. And
interesting.
Timothy, I guess, went down there. He was the only person to actually go down and investigate the like sightings. And apparently he was saying like for a long time, there's like a whole lore of the face peelers is what they call them. And it's pretty crazy. Like you should probably, I know you guys had Tim Alberino on Timcast. So.
Yeah, he's been on this show too. We had a great talk. I really like the way he sees things, especially he's got that biblical perspective with it as well. But I haven't seen the Sean Ryan interview. Someone did say something to me about he had a different take on the Peru thing, and so I really want to check that out. But basically, what you're saying is that might be now some cover story cooked up by these two people who wanted to cause a distraction from what might be something much weirder. Maybe as weird as the initial story was. And for those who don't know, there was a town in Peru who they thought they were getting attacked by aliens. And then the official story was like, it wasn't aliens. It was actually miners, miners, on jetpacks.
Safe again.
Yeah. Flying above the tree line, right?
Yeah.
So, and can you like tell us what does Timothy think they are if they weren't jetpacks?
I mean, the story goes pretty deep. Well, so he went and kind of investigated that area, and I guess he used to live down there, so he knows the area pretty well. And he went and talked to a bunch of other tribes and towns, and then I think even went to other little like Brazil or some other countries.
Mm-hmm.
And that story is like goes back like 50 years of different times of this happening to people. But he also in that whole story basically was saying how it was the weird part, which makes it not sound like aliens or whatever, was this one girl who supposedly got like grabbed by one of these face peeler people on the jetpack. She said they like when they were about to get caught because like her brothers and uncles heard her scream, so they came to like run up on her, and they ended up like she said the people talked in Spanish. Like one sounded like a Caucasian person, and then the other person sounded like Spanish. So then Timothy was like saying how he's like, I don't know if this is like some breakaway civilization that has like, or the government down there doing some weird secret stuff in the jungle. It was weird. So
I mean, it is weird that they would just say, well, it's miners in the dark. I forget how that story was sold to us, but basically the image would be from the official story. There were miners on jetpacks in the dark. Well, what are miners doing in the sky? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that whole story literally, according to him, that whole story just comes from like two random cops from the like town next to wherever that, because where it happened was like a kind of like a tribe, small village out in the, uncharted jungle. And then the people that went to investigate were just some like two police guys from a small town next to it. And they just went off and like didn't even really do an investigation, and then just were like, no, it's just miners with jetpacks, and then just walked away or something like. And that's how that whole story got made.
Interesting. Two corrupt cops being paid off by the face peelers to distract everyone from the story, because it worked on me too. I was like, oh, it's an easy debunk, but it's so funny. Sometimes I just like I'll see something like, oh, okay, that makes sense, and I forget about it. But as you're saying this, I'm thinking about it like in the way that this image of the miners at dark on jetpacks, it makes no sense. Yeah, so I'll have to reach out to him. It'd be interesting to hear his take on it. But in the meantime, I'll have to catch that Sean Ryan interview.
Yeah, and then so my short story. So in my town when I was growing up, there was like basically I think I've heard you talk about it once, but basically that ghost story of like the white lady or white woman walking.
There's been a few people who've called in and seen that, and I've interviewed some people for the books that have seen those.
Yeah, so I didn't see it, but I heard that story when I was younger from like my brother, probably when I was, I don't know, 2000, or no, probably like 99, when I was like in 8th grade.
Okay.
Heard it from my brother, and then so I like never really thought about it. They just were like, oh, in the fog, like if you're driving up on this one area, you might see this lady. And I was like, okay, you're just like spooking us out. And then fast forward probably 2015, maybe, I'm working at a hotel in town, and this cook at this hotel who didn't live in the town, like he moved there maybe 3 years prior. Pretty sure he's never heard this story. And I'm working early, and he comes in early in the morning, and it's like a foggy day, and he comes in and he's just like, man, I just saw the weirdest thing when I was driving to work. Like I saw this like lady walk across my, like right in front of my car out of the fog, and then walked away, and it was just really weird. And she didn't even like look at the car. And I was like, And I just like thought about that, and I was like, was she wearing like an old Victorian dress or anything? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, dude, that's like a crazy ghost story that I've like heard from a long time ago. Like, and it was just really weird because like the way he said it, and then the way it was connected, it just kind of freaked me out.
He didn't have
was
any
really
knowledge of
freaked
this
out after
prior
that.
at all. Like you'd never told him about it or anything before that.
No, I wasn't even like friends with him really. He was just like kind of, this is a big hotel, so he's like one of the cooks, and I just like kind of in passing talk to him and joke with him, but we never talked about any of that stuff. Like, and he supposedly he'd never even heard of it. So
Yeah,
it was pretty weird for me because I'd never like, we used to go up and look for like the ghost or whatever when we were young and driving in high school, but I never saw anything. But then he said that, and it just kind of was like, whoa, huh.
Yeah, this big old hotel I've talked about a lot that I was in Georgia, where they built on top of that cemetery, where they hanged this woman for getting her husband murdered by her lover and her brother, who they shot his jaw off. They failed at murdering him and buried him in a shallow grave outside their house. Well, they hanged her at the crossroads, I believe, in that town, because they were like, we'll confuse her soul when she's dead. But that hotel, a lot of people believe that they see her, and she would have been old Victorian dress type. I did not see her, but a lot of different people around there said that if you play classical music at night, she'll appear. And I was like, well, I'll try. And I did play some classical music. Nothing happened. But that story of like seeing the ghost lady in the Victorian dress, I hear that from a lot of people on the East Coast, mostly. And in the South, there were a few plantations down there that I would talk to people, and none of these people knew each other. And they had seen this lady in a Victorian dress with a parasol just walking across the field, typically around the same time, early morning, like right before the sun was rising. So it's weird. People see it, and like the person you're talking about, the people see it, and they don't know that this is a thing that a lot of people see.
Yeah, I mean, I never forget that story. Every time I listen to you guys, I was like, man, I wish I'd see a ghost or an alien or something. But I was like trying to think. I'm like, well, what have I heard? And I'm like, well, I remember that story. And then
perfect.
I'll call back another time with those.
Careful what you wish for, man.
My wife has like a thing that happened with her, but
all right, yeah. Well, please.
Secondhand accounts is what it is.
That's awesome. Secondhand ghost stories. That's a good name for something. I like that. But
right.
Give us a call back when you can. We'd love to hear more. Thanks, man.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
You too. Thanks, man.
Sweet. While you get the next caller, I'm just going to say one quick thing. We're talking about how just people just make things up. We're talking about this Peru story, and you get the official story. And there's the official story, you can't really ever trust it, especially when it comes to weird things. And one of the things that first really clued me into how fake everything is, I was writing a story about a skeleton that went sort of missing in my town. Not really, but you'll understand in a minute. There's this tomb in my town where I grew up for Margaret Corbin. They gave her this big, nice plot by the chapel on West Point in the cemetery right by the road. And she was put there because she's like a war hero, right, from the Revolution. And they were working on the wall alongside of the graveyard, and the guys accidentally did something where they dug into the wall, and by doing that, pushed the dirt around enough that her casket popped up out of the ground. That's been there for a long time. Not since the Revolution, because it was moved there from another place. And when they popped up out of the ground, they're like, oh, that's definitely not cool. Oops. Big oops. I knew the guy who actually did it, and he had dug a lot of horse graves for me and my family on the farm out there. And West Point was like, well, now that she's up here, we're going to study her bones, and we're going to put her back. So they brought her into their facilities, in their lab, gave her a look over and said, this is not a woman. This is a man. And this man is not even from the Revolution. This is like Civil War era. So
I wish I had one of those air horn sound effects right now.
So it was like, that was interesting to me because this lady was like a tourist attraction. Like her tomb was a tourist attraction. And we have all these signs dedicated to her, this story. And now this skeleton that people have been like visiting and do every year. There's a big parade, not parade, but like a ceremony for her. All this stuff now totally just fake, right? So I wanted to write a story about it. because it was like a skeleton, like that kind of stuff. And I went to the historian. The historian has been a lady I've dealt with a lot throughout the years as a writer writing about history, because she's just got everything. She's got 4 levels of stuff in this place in town hall, where I could ask about any time in this town's history before it was even a town, pull that paperwork, and I could get like firsthand source material, like OG stuff, handwritten stuff, war letters from the Revolution, all that good stuff. So I was like, let me get all the Margaret Corbin things. And she gives me everything. I spent a week reading thousands of papers, so many papers. Because I'm like, how did this happen? So that story was, this is her official story. She was what they call like a Molly pitcher, which is a lady who would go to the battles for the Revolution and supply water and food. And her husband was at battle and he died. And the story goes that she took over the cannon and started firing at the British. Then she got hit with grape shot in her arm and was taken as a prisoner of war by the British, and then was let go, brought back to my town. Like my official town is Highland Falls, which is a neighbor of West Point, but they're like Highland Falls is just like a glorified souvenir shop for West Point. And so she lived out her days there as a miserable old lady, and they buried her by a tree by the river, the Hudson River. And then the Daughters of the American Revolution, many years later, said, hey, this is a war hero. We got to put her in a sweet little cemetery on West Point because it's going to be awesome. So they did that. They dug her up, and they used this guy, the son of a steamboat captain, who was at her funeral. And he pointed out the grave, and the Daughters of the American Revolution dug it up, and they brought her to West Point, but they obviously dug up the wrong person. So now I'm in the historian's office pouring through all of this material, and I come across these insane letters between a local church, the Daughters of the American Revolution, and West Point. The superintendent of West Point, that is the guy who runs everything. Eisenhower was once the superintendent of West Point. So like these are pretty like 3-star generals, I think sometimes 4. And they're writing letters back and forth, constructing a narrative of who Margaret is. So they all know it's BS. I don't know what's real about the story or not anymore. She's like a myth. And you see her name in New Jersey. You see her in other parts of New York. Everyone's got their own Margaret Corbin. Some people call her Molly Pitcher. But I was reading their letters back and forth being like, well, we heard she was from Ireland. But we heard she was from New York. We heard she was from Pennsylvania. And so I'm watching them write letters back and forth over like a few weeks about let's make her history. They're making her history. I'm watching them create the official narrative of Margaret Corbin. And what they landed on is insane. And I can't find any evidence of any of this original stuff, because what they got at the end was that she was in Pennsylvania as a child, and Indians raided her house, kidnapped her mom, murdered her father. And like from there, she wound up marrying this guy who then went to the war. And that's where this whole story happened. But no idea where she really is. I have no idea if she really even existed. There's a lot of Margaret Corbins. Like I said, in like the mythology of the Revolution, might be some like feminism like thing that they created. But it was just so interesting to see the officials of these places, West Point being maybe the craziest one, to be like, this is how we're going to sell this. This is an important thing for the Daughters of the American Revolution. And they were nice ladies, the ones I talked to. I don't think they were thinking all that deeply about the history of her, as I was for this story. But it was just so fascinating to me to see them create this thing, turn her into this legend, give her this plot of land, and the whole thing was bogus. And no one really cared. No one really cared. But yeah, no one. Now where her alleged grave was, it's beneath a sewage plant on the Hudson River. And I did have people out there with LiDAR trying to find human remains, but I'm pretty sure if she was real, and I'm looking at old photos of the when they exhumed her. So I had old photos of an exhumation that was allegedly her. So I'm looking at those in that land with the tree line of the river and trying to gauge, but I'm pretty sure she's beneath a sewage plant, which is ridiculous. And no one knows where those other graves went. They said they were moved, but no one knows where they went. So that's just one of those early stories where I was like, this is pretty official. This state spent a lot of money on all these fancy signs and this crazy tomb for a bunch of fake stuff. So that's one of my skepticism origin stories. But we should go to another caller.
Yeah. Real quick, like, subscribe, follow, share the show. all that good stuff. We're going to get into some more calls right now. I want to go to Peyton.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Is this a sergeant?
We're going to find out in a second here.
I think, unless there's another Peyton, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a sergeant.
Peyton, you're on Inverted World Live. What's up?
Hi, Shane?
Yes, sir.
Is that Shane right there?
That's me, sir. How are you, Peyton? It's good to hear from you again.
Fine. It's good to hear you too. It sure is. I heard you got some questions for me, Shane.
Well, let me flip back to yesterday.
Yeah, sure, Shane. Yes.
Tell me about the moon.
Okay. In modern times, a very good question, actually. The Nazis are the first people to be on the moon since 1942. It was a huge obsession of Hitler to be on the moon first among all the modern nations in 1942. And that's really not, or should not be a conspiracy theory. It's actually the truth, and there's pictures of it that actually happened. Next question, sir.
Are they there right now?
Yes, they are. Actually, they are.
What are they doing?
Again, going back to the idea of Germans being on the northeast corner, dark side of the moon. They know that the Chinese are now up there, and the Chinese and the breakaway Germans of World War II, their colony up there, that did not surrender during or after World War II. They've been staring at each other.
Yeah, because you said
back and forth, and yes, they are presently locked into a Cold War of their own, which actually sucks.
So right now the Nazis are in a Cold War with the Chinese on the dark side of the moon.
Yes, they are, and also in other places on the Earth. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this.
Let's do it.
They also established active World War II cultured U-boat bases of all places underneath downtown Houston, Texas. No kidding about it. No lie. Houston, Texas has an underground active World War II cultured U-boat base down below us, and also at this point in time. Under New York City, they have reactivated a World War II cultured U-boat base under New York City in the neighborhood of what's called Manhattan. That is correct. Manhattan. It's called a U-boat base of Montauk. U-boat base Montauk under New York City, in the U-boat base under Houston is called Base 2995, Base 2995, and that's not classified. That's actually a declassified information, sir. What's the next question, sir?
Oh, hold on. I don't want to go too quick. You're going real fast, Peyton.
Sorry.
That's okay. Are you in Houston for that reason?
No, actually, I relocated from Tupelo, Mississippi, birthplace of Elvis Presley, in northeast Mississippi, to Houston back in '72 with my family. I'm 55 years old, so I came here when I was just a toddler, a child in the '70s.
Okay, and what do you make of Operation Paperclip?
That's actually a very good question. I'm glad you actually asked that question. I became brief friends with the son of one of the scientists of Operation Paperclip, scientist Siegel.
Okay.
Yes, sir. His son became a night a night security officer in some shopping center in California. He gave me the realistic formula and it's no fable. It's realistic to humans into werewolves. Not making it up. Not lying about it. It's a realistic formula to actually turn humans into werewolves. I actually copyrighted it and published it in a book that I sell called Moonlighting. That I sell on Amazon at Peyton, Peyton. Here we go again. Cottrell, Cottrell the second. Again, Peyton, Peyton. Cottrell, Cottrell the second.
Perfect.
And so yes, but moonlighting is right there among the 62 other books, and it lists the formula that actually dates back to the time of the Roman Empire.
Interesting.
As in the ancient Roman Empire of Europe.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I've
Yes.
heard of it. Peyton. So for those who are just now tuning in, Peyton called last night. He is a sergeant in the Fourth Reich. He is a dual citizen with this country as well as the nation of 8 million people beneath Antarctica and Base 211 set up by the Nazis. But before we go any further, I'm curious, what is the significance with werewolves and Nazis? Can you tell me?
You mean how are they different between what they did that was so bad? What they were doing in World War II versus 2025.
No.
Actually, I want to say this, sir.
It's not that.
Yeah, I'm here
because I'm asking.
I'll just say this real fast.
Okay, go for it.
We do love Israel. We do love Israel, and we do love Jews. We do love Jews. So we don't hate them at all. We're nice to them. We're nice to them, and we're not doing any bad things to them at all in 2025, sir.
What happened
Sergeant. In World War II is what happened, and I'm not going to get into all that. But,
we don't have to rehash old history.
We don't hate them at all in 2025, not at all. We're nice to them. We're actually very nice to Jews, sir.
So that's not exactly where I was going with this, but I can try to bridge these things by saying, paperclip. We brought over a lot of Nazis. By we, I mean the American government, and they worked. Nazis and Jewish people worked together. Like a Nazi and a Jew created MK Ultra. But what I was saying is, if you could tell me about Operation Werewolf, that's what I meant to say. Do you know about this?
Oh well, no, I have not heard of anything about called Operation Werewolf, but to follow along with that, yes, Operation Paperclip, real fast, employed many different ex-Nazis to work for the U.S. government. That's true. That is right. The secret formula to turn someone into a real werewolf, and that formula is in the top part of my book called Moonlighting. It was actually practiced among Germans in World War II for one reason. They were getting their butts whipped by the Allies in the very first part of in the very last part of the World War II, leading up to 1945. And so they explored occult ideas and practices, and one of them was resurrecting the ancient art of turning humans into werewolves, again dating back to the Roman Empire. That's now copyrighted, and anyone can use it across the world.
Have you done this? Have you done this?
Yeah, I'm here.
Have you become a werewolf?
I've never tried it. It's actually a drink. You have to put several different things from wolves into a drink, and it can take as long as 67 years to do the transformation. Basically, what you're doing is this. You're having to change your mentality from thinking like a human being to thinking like an animal, a dog, a wolf, and it's very hard. It's very hard.
Yeah.
But right or wrong, I've got that formula copyrighted in that book called Moonlighting.
Okay.
On Amazon.
Okay. Yeah. Operation Werewolf was the Nazi version of Operation Paperclip, and that was their stay behind orders to try to infiltrate. Okay, so not exactly Paperclip. Paperclip was an official us hiring Nazis, but I believe Werewolf was them staying behind to infiltrate from within. I believe the Soviets. But it's fascinating that they call it the Werewolf. If you don't know about it, people don't know about it. You should look up that Operation Werewolf. Pretty wild badge that they wore with a skull.
But I also heard, and this is kind of off topic a little bit, but I heard that you were talking about ghosts, and I used to be a big time ghost hunter, a paranormal investigator in Houston, Texas, and I'll definitely say that most orbs are definitely discredited to be dust particles or bacteria.
Right.
So I can only speak for ghost hunters in Houston, Texas, especially around the time of when the Sci-Fi Channel used to have the ghost hunter reality TV shows. We taught ourselves how to differentiate between real ghost orbs and just dust particles and bacteria. But going back to what we're saying now. Yes, I'm very well rounded. But we're involved in many different projects. We definitely are. Um, there's also an unconfirmed, very small U-boat base in the oldest sections of New Orleans during World War II. It was called at one time U-boat base Bell Chase in New Orleans. I cannot confirm that one.
What are they doing?
But it was a small as a one car garage, but it was definitely a small refueling a place.
Why? Why are they there?
In
What are
New
they
Orleans.
doing? What are they doing there?
Well, it's not active anymore, but it was just there. It was just there to refuel U-boats in what used to be called as a Gulf of Mexico, which has now been renamed as a Gulf of America, as we all know.
Yes.
But there are basically a few unconfirmed reports that New Orleans used to have a Nazi U-boat base called Bell Chase several years ago. But I do know for a fact that Houston, Texas has an active a World War II German peaceful and legally recognized U-boat base called Base 2995 under Houston, Texas. Not trying to scare anybody, but that's the truth. And so does New York City. They have a reactivated U-boat base called Montauk. That's underneath the neighborhood of Manhattan. Yes, that is correct. Manhattan neighborhood in New York City.
Peyton, I could talk to you forever, but I do want to get to other callers who are waiting. But one last question before we go: is Hitler alive?
He is, and I'm being truthful about this. He's alive on the planet Mars in a city called New Berlin. It's also known as New Berlin on Mars. That was built there back in 1952. This is why that happened. We kept bombing and harassing the Germans in Antarctica so much that they just finally decided that they just could not live on Earth anymore. So the most important ones, including the Führer, Hitler, he had to leave, and they flew him in a Haunebu, which is spelled Haunebu. Haunebu, a Haunebu flying saucer to Mars in 1952, and he's still alive. I mean, he's doing.
He'd be old.
They've had to do a lot of experiments to keep him alive, but he's still alive as a very old man. But nothing happens without a say so, and they're still very much Nazi, National Socialists. They sure are. Yes, they are. They are.
Well,
me,
Peyton,
I'm just a citizen. I'm just a citizen, and that's what I am. I'm a citizen of the Fourth Reich. That's a legalized nation, established as the only classified nation in 1948. Peace treaty of Operation Windmill 2 as the only classified nation on the earth. Because if most Americans knew about this information, there'd be a lot of trouble here, a lot of riots. I'm sorry to say, a lot of riots.
A lot more know now. A lot more know now. But hey, Sarge, great talking to you. You can call back, and we'll continue this at some point. But I wanted to get to some other callers. I hope you have a great night, and we'll talk soon.
I'll call back. I'll call back, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See ya. And that was Peyton.
You know, you warned me
I told you.
before the show.
I said I had a feeling he was going to call back.
But you didn't tell me
I didn't
who
want
it
to.
was.
I didn't want to.
So that was.
I didn't want to.
That
I
was,
like the surprise.
That was a shocker for me, for sure.
I like surprise. He's got a lot of answers, man.
Hitler alive and well on Mars.
We knew that. I mean, I figured it was Argentina. I don't really think Mars is real, so I would have gotten into it further with him about them thinking space is real. But yeah, fascinating stuff, guys. You heard it here first.
Are you gonna get this book?
I'm gonna look it up for sure. They're up there, right?
I'm looking for it right now.
I think they're.
I'm looking to see if this thing is out there right now. Because I'm so curious right now. I know everybody in chat was dying watching my facial expressions during that entire encounter. Again, I don't know. I'm not calling this guy a hoax or anything, but like,
he's more believable than the sphere.
Is he though? I mean, I don't know, man.
We'll have more questions for him. I've got a lot of questions. I've got a lot of stuff written down, but I want to get to other callers before it's too late. And
yeah, let's jump on that.
You guys, let us know what you think about Sergeant Peyton from Base 211 in Antarctica.
Yeah, all right.
Hitler's alive.
Alive and
Mars.
well.
Hitler took a flying saucer to Mars.
And what, sent back Elon?
I mean, dude, that's something else we could talk about because Werner von Braun, wrote the Nazi who made the V2 rockets, wrote the book in Arizona or New Mexico about colonizing Mars, and the government of Mars would be called the Elon. So there is that.
I feel like I just have more questions left unanswered.
That's what I'm saying. Like so. I've got my page bookmarked for the Sarge.
All right, we're gonna bring in Corey Blair. Corey, you are on Inverted World Live. What's up?
Hello.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Well, it's going to be tough trying to follow up that caller. I'll tell you what.
Give it your best shot, man.
Yeah. Yours.
Well, no, I wanted to talk about because I was listening to the Bogosphere. I like that. I like that new coin term, the Bogosphere.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
But no, I do want to say that like it's important to understand that there is multiple layers of psyop within psyop, or it's hard to even explain it as a psyop because it's just people and different entities trying to gain attrition in this psychological warfare that we have,
Yes.
And the fact that like aliens or extraterrestrial beings are real, and it doesn't have to be as for lack of better terms dumbed down or like third dimensional, like lame brained as humans perceive it as. They don't need to have ships, they don't need to have crafts, they don't need to have rivets and structured beings, like you guys I'm sure familiar with Stephen Greer. But like we're talking about we are here on Earth as spiritual bodies, spiritual vessels that have encapsulated a meat suit driving a skeleton mech, you know what I mean? And we're here in this third dimensional reality to try to I guess this is where free will is, right? We have the ability to experience free will, and we have the experience, the means to experience our own demise or creation as spiritual entities in this world, right? And there was a great book, and I mentioned it in the chat about an hour ago, but and you guys can look it up too. But we're talking about like it's called Fringe Knowledge for Beginners, and it's written by a pseudonym. His writer's name is Montauk, Montalk. You could probably find it on Amazon still to this day. It's only like 100 pages, but It talks about it really brings together how angels, demons, religion, aliens, our place in the cosmos, what we're doing here as you know, our spiritual meat suits that we're driving here. It really put it into perspective to me in my early 20s when I read this book, and it brought a lot of the things I was questioning as a young boy together, or a young man together. Because I think we can all agree, and I'm not going to speak for you guys. You guys can chime in anytime, but religion and aliens and demons and all of these things are all intertwined. We're all trying to balance where we are in this cosmos, and we're sitting here in the third dimensional plane, and it talks about dimensional reality. So the third dimensional plane, we have the first dimension, the second dimension, the third dimension, and we're here in this third dimension. This is where we can actually manifest free will as souls in our spiritual soul journey. And then once we, I guess, for lack of better terms, graduate, we reach that Christ consciousness. And you can reach Christ consciousness in a divine or a malevolent way. And there's a fork in the road here in this third dimensional reality that then splits us into higher fourth dimensions and fifth dimensions and sixth and seventh and so on and so forth. But that split happens in the third. And the third dimension is where we diverge into our the angel aspect, the higher dimension, the Christ consciousness, the positive, the good, and then the negative, the malevolent, the evil, the dark. It still goes into a fourth dimension. It's just in a the duality splits, diverges from the third. What do you guys think about that?
I totally agree with a lot of that, and the way you started it by saying it's like the layers of psyops in this stuff. I mean, I think a lot of this is interconnected, and that's what I was kind of hinting at earlier at the end of the Bogosphere segment, because I was mentioning how a lot of these people start to say things like, "This is about our human evolution," and I find those phrases so interesting because it's almost like they're looking at the sphere now, looking at it through like a biblical lens, like a fruit of knowledge. And this is like this new thing that's going to bring us to a whole new, level of information. But it seems like false to me. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who want it to be real. This thing doesn't seem real to me at all. And that they're trying to attack what you were saying, like the meat suit, the thing that's keeping us locked here in the material world and keep you divorced from the spiritual world by getting you like literally fascinated by a shiny object. And that to me that's part of the psyop. But like there are so many layers to it, because it also brings in politics and how you govern. Like we have our politician literally there right now who's on a committee with our taxpayer dollars figuring out what this thing is. So it's like it's demons, angels, politicians, and all that stuff.
And there's so many layers. Like, yeah, it's hard to really break it down. And when politics are so upfront and in your face, and we're down in this 12-hour cycle or 8-hour cycle of just chaos and bam, 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 it's all coming at you like drinking out of a fire hose.
Yep.
It's hard to really find that spiritual center again. And then this taps in, like this talks about the Kundalini, the resonating of your chakras, like we spoke, like there's books speaking of, we had the birth of baby Jesus, and then we had 30 something years of no Jesus, and then he comes back as a enlightened being. And like there's books and there's talks of him, and there's actual like statues of Jesus in a Buddhist pose, like using the Eastern philosophies that he might have found in his young adult life into this Christ consciousness, and it blends all of these religions together. And I'm not saying one is greater than the other, but I think every religion has a lesson to be taught, and you have to kind of. I mean, I've got all the books on my bookshelf in my living room. I have them all. The Buddha, or the Buddhist Bible, the all of them.
And it's why so many religions share a flood story. There is this like the very similar story of the flood throughout many religions and old ancient stories. So, I think I don't know how to make sense of it all. And in terms of, if there's many floods, I personally think there's just one flood and there's just various interpretations of it.
Sure.
Of what happened. But, I think that is just more evidence something
And
like
it
that is
happened
happening.
separately, or it might have happened in smaller. It might have not have been a global flood, but smaller regional floods in a transition of the time, or the younger Dryas, and tapping into actually like what Graham Hancock or Randall Carlson has been speaking of and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like there's historical documentation of this stuff, but with the Bogosphere and this physical manifestation, getting into Project Bluebeam, getting into the harder, the lower vibration, and like maybe that's not the best way to explain it, but when I say lower vibration, I mean more rooted in physical third dimensional reality.
Yep.
Like when they try to use these lower third dimensional reality psyops, like, oh, the aliens are going to come probe us and take our children and rectal exams and blah blah blah. Like this is innately like attacking our root, our primal fear of animalistic desire, fears and concerns, when we really should be focusing on like a higher frequency. And then you have the Project Bluebeam, and like right now, like no, like everyone knows about Project Bluebeam, but I don't know if it's ever going to come to fruition. But if it does, it will manifest, and everyone will see exactly what they want to see in the world, across the world, and then we will enter into this great quote unquote globalist utopian no nation state, which is a psyop in inherently will control us in the third dimensional reality, which is I am in fear of, especially in these trying times with tying it in with Israel and all this other stuff. But it's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy.
The last year I've been beginning to think that Project Bluebeam isn't going to be this big event in the sky, but it's actually been this slow burning, like mutating of the collective consciousness, that eventually we all just kind of accept something, not because something just happened in the sky above us, but because over time we've all been conditioned to just think something, and then it will probably take a few of these things, like, and the sphere is one of those like landmarks along the way. I think they probably rethought Bluebeam. And maybe they'll still project something in the sky. That seems very possible, especially with AI happening, all this stuff. And the way they can manipulate drones in the sky, it is certainly possible. But it's like someone like Sam Tripoli, he would say like they could use Starlink to do that. So anything's possible. But I do think it's like what you're talking about with that lower vibrational fear. It's like down here on the physical world with you and your kids. That's what we would say, like when we're talking about the doom economy. That's where that fits in. But then it's also the other one to talk about layers of psyops would be the attack on actually the spiritual stuff and how you perceive yourself, your reality, why you're here, what you should do, and all that stuff. And that's just two things. But there's, I think, a lot of different people trying to get in on these situations to take advantage of you, whether it's a government or some influencer asking for money. You just never know. But yeah, totally, those are great thoughts, man. I appreciate you sharing them.
Yeah, for sure. And like I could, I think you talked about that the psychological of the Bluebeam, like hunter monkey theory. Like I don't know, look into the 100th monkey theory, but like we don't all have to experience it, but if enough people experience it, it happens globally. But yeah, no, I love these kind of conversations. I do deep dives on this with my podcast. I'm on Break the Chains Media on Rumble.
Oh, cool.
And on X, so you can find me at Break the Chains M on X. But
incredible.
I love listening to this kind of talk, and this is like the modern day coast to coast, and I fucking love it.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
It's high praise. We appreciate it, man. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Before we get to the next caller, I just want to say one thing really quick. I was thinking about Sergeant Peyton right when he was hanging up, and why.
How could you not think about Sergeant Peyton?
I was thinking, like, why does this feel familiar to me? And it dawned on me, I haven't had this thought in so long. For like 2 or 3 years, when I was maybe, I don't know, 21, 22. It started when I was 21, 22. I would get prank called by a guy pretending to be John Wayne. And it was a private number. This guy sounded just like John Wayne, and I could ask him the most ridiculous John Wayne trivia questions, and he would just know. It was I would test him all the time, and he would call me with family. I'd put him on speakerphone. He'd talk to my family and everything. So like I spent a lot of time with who I believed to be John Wayne, and he knew it so well. So I think that's why I'm having deja vu.
I gotta stop reading chats when we have callers like that, because these guys had me cracking up. I think it was Damien said this MF spitting, and I almost threw up. That's awesome. It was so fun. I'm like, I got to stop reading chats.
It's incredible. Well, I'm sure he'll call back. Let's get to another caller.
All right. So we have yet another Corey.
All right.
We're going to bring in Corey McManus.
Sweet. Corey, are you there?
Corey, you are on Inverted World Live. Please unmute your mic and say what's up.
Hello, Corey.
He's got the mute demon.
Corey, you got to unmute that mic, or we're gonna send
Got it.
a U-boat there.
Hey,
Okay,
what up?
awesome. What's up?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Chilling, man. Thanks for calling
Welcome
in.
to the show.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me. I just wanted to call in and share a couple stories real quick,
Cool.
if that's all right with you guys.
Cool, man.
That's perfect. Go for it.
Well, the first one is kind of a paranormal one. One night I was sitting in my house with my girlfriend, and my brother had just passed probably about 2 months prior in one of the rooms in the house, and I'm sitting up front, and where I was in the living room, you could see to the front of the house where the front door was, and there's light coming into the house there, and I see this black mass like move by, and my girlfriend kind of caught it out of the corner of her eye, and I run up there, and I have the weirdest feeling. I don't even know how to describe it, but she was there too, and I said, if this is my brother, just the first thing I thought of, I said, if this is my brother, then tap 3 times. I shit you not, like not even 2 seconds later, there's 3 taps on the sheetrock, and I ran back to the other side of the house, and like I was freaking out with my girlfriend, and so we decided to go back and try it again, and I asked again, and I shit you not, three more taps right on the sheetrock, right next to my right ear. My girlfriend was standing to my left, and we both heard it, and we both ran back. So that was one thing that freaked me out, and also that night, for some reason, I don't know what came over me, but I'm not a drinker. I don't drink very much, and my girlfriend just so happened to have had a bottle of whiskey, and I was grabbing the bottle of whiskey and just drinking, taking shots straight out of the bottle. And I don't drink shots. I hate liquor, and I just kept drinking. She said, and like at one point. I don't remember any of this. She said my eyes turned black, and I picked her up with one hand and like threw her on the ground.
Whoa.
And then came to 2 seconds later.
What were you
And-
drinking?
Yeah, what kind of whiskey was that, man?
Dude, I know it must have been some crazy shit. Well, actually, it was some Mexican whiskey. Like that's all I know about it. But
Yeah,
I never
there
drank
you
it.
go.
And
Well, there you
it
go.
was very that was one of the weirdest experiences that I've ever had. But
That's crazy.
yeah, like I mean, I don't know whether it was something that was imitating my brother. I'm not sure, but all I know is it happened, and that's that's probably the only paranormal experience I've ever had. But I have experienced a UFO, and I know that I'm not crazy because there was 3 other people with me that saw it, and I was like in 6th grade, and I was on my way to Best Buy with my 2 friends and their mom. And we were pretty much right behind Best Buy, and this is in Houston, Texas. And I'm it's about 6 o'clock in the evening time, and the sun's setting. It's to the west, and I look up in the sky and I see something, and it's literally like almost shape shifting. It looks like rings going in and out of each other with a triangle in the middle that was almost spinning like a rotary engine kind of, but there was also like a what would you call it, like it was something like a fire like burning in the middle of it, but it would also phase in and out. And my friend's little brother started screaming at the top of his lungs when he saw it, crying. And my friend's mom pulled over, and so did other people that were around us, and we were all just staring at it. And all of a sudden, it blinked over to the left, which would probably be about 20 miles, is my guess, and then zoomed off, and it was gone. That was it.
That's crazy. Did you say it had light or anything?
Yeah, it was like a fire burning in the middle of it, and
Okay,
I could
right.
see like a little triangle that was moving around, almost like it was on like a a 360 axis, but it also was turning into a circle. It's very, very difficult to explain because it was the rings were like moving in and out, almost like it was breathing almost, like it was like very, very weird. And I also got a very weird feeling while I was staring at that thing as well. I believe like all this stuff is connected with demons. I really do. I just get that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, the way you were describing it, it also reminded me of the Ophanum. You know about those?
What is it?
Ophanum, Ophanim. Maybe you want to pull that up. Ophanim. That's an angel. So there's like different levels of angels in the Bible. And
yeah, I've heard of that. And there's like eyes around the wheels.
Yeah, and like it's funny because as I was thinking Ophanum while you were describing it, maybe do Google images because there'll be like a lot of different images of the wheels within wheels. As I was listening to you, and then you said the word blink, and that's when I thought of Ophanum, because in the middle of the Ophanum, which are circles within circles, wheels within wheels, is an eye. And I don't know if they describe those with fire or not. Some are, but there is interesting. Not a triangle inside, but and what you saw does seem different, but it's worth looking up the Ophanum because I think they're fascinating.
Absolutely, man. That's very cool. I never thought about that. That could have been an angel that I saw. And like I said, I know I'm not crazy because there's plenty of people that saw it.
Yeah, and like
I'm surprised it wasn't more widely known because it was it was so clear. We could see it so clearly. It was at 6 o'clock in the evening. I mean, with it, like the sun behind it. I mean, you could see it very clearly.
Was there a conversation afterwards with like the mom or something about what?
I remember us being silent for a couple of minutes afterwards. But I remember she started talking first. It was pretty much like, what was that? You know, like,
whoa.
And my friend's little brother kept crying. So we pretty much didn't talk about it until probably a few days later. I think so. I just can't remember exactly what it was. It's been so long now. I'm like 42.
Awesome.
now.
Well, we appreciate you giving us those stories, man. That's wild.
Absolutely, dude. It was good talking to you, Shane.
Yeah, thank you. Same to you, man.
Big fan, man. I've been a fan of yours ever since I read the first story you posted up on a Timcast.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, man.
That was me in the diner.
Dude. Great story.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Take it easy, man.
Bye.
All right, take it easy, bud.
It's crazy. We had another Houston caller after Sergeant Payton's in Houston because that's where the U-boat thing is.
Oh yeah, 2995, I think he said.
Yeah.
And the other funny thing that I caught there was that he also said that the one up on the East Coast was Montauk.
Mm-hmm.
And he said Montauk with an L.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What the hell is going on?
Yep. Well, we will hear from him again, I am sure. Do we have another caller?
Yes.
Maybe we'll try one more caller. And if there's anyone who don't get to, well, I'm sure there won't be because we'll have time for one more. I am very sorry to get to you. I hope you call back tomorrow. Brandon and I will be here from 10 to 12 tomorrow night.
Yeah, there are about 6-ish people we're not going to get to.
I am so sorry.
But yeah, we had awesome turnout for calls tonight, so thank you guys so much. Queue's been flooded the entire night, so we really appreciate it. Again, really quick, like, subscribe, follow, share, blow up that algo. And let's get to what should be our final caller tonight here. We are going to go to Danny.
Share, blow up that algo. And,
Danny, you're on Inverted World Live. What's up?
Tonight here.
Danny. This might be the same Danny from yesterday.
Might be. I don't know.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's
How you
up?
doing?
Let me get my noise down a little bit.
Sure.
Hear me all right?
Yep.
All right, cool. So, yeah, it's the same Danny. My name's not actually Danny like that. I don't know why it's spelled it that way, but I figured that's the way you'd recognize me. So it is.
Awesome.
Whatever. It works. I'm Danny now.
Cool. Well, what's going on?
So I'm going to tell you a story. Last time I told you a story about the farmhouse, I don't know. I was probably about 15, 16 in that story.
Okay.
And we're going to go forward. Now I have a kid. I'm in my early 20s. My kid's probably, I think at this point, he's probably like 3.5.
Okay.
And me and my kid's mom at the time, we move into this apartment. It's not much. It's like a 16-plex. It's all Filipinos except for us and like this one black lady that would sit on her porch in a lawn chair and smoke weed. She had like really bad glaucoma.
Oh, wow.
It actually had glaucoma, but she'll come into the story later.
Okay.
So we move into this place, and we didn't have much, so we were able to like get in, set up the whole place in like one night, and sit down and have TV plugged in and watching a movie by the time the night was over, right? And so I'm sitting there in the dark, and the room's dark, but this lamp, probably like 3 cushions away from me on this like long couch, I'd used it earlier, so I knew it worked. And all of a sudden I hear a clink clink on this glass table, because it's a lamp and the table is sitting on its glass, right? So the light bulb hitting the glass made like a weird sound you can imagine, right? Like glass on glass.
Yep.
And then it like rolled around in a circle, because if you put a light bulb on a table and you push it, it would just kind of roll around on itself because of the way it's shaped.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we looked over, that's what it was doing. It like did like a half roll and came to a stop. And I was like, what? We must have bumped the table, and the light bulb fell out. So I went over and I took the light bulb, and I wanted to see like how many threads it would have to be in to work properly, to see if it could have like actually fell out. And it had to be like 3 or 4 threads in before it turned in. It wasn't one of those ones that could like almost be out. So I was like, no way that thing fell out. So it would have to unscrew like 4 threads to fall off of the lamp, right?
Right.
This is the very first night we moved into this apartment. So a series of like little things happen over, I don't know if I was there maybe a year and a half. So maybe like over the past 6 months after that, the weird stuff would happen. Like I came home from work one time and the water was running in the bathroom. And I went upstairs to like talk to my girlfriend, and she wasn't there. So she came in behind me. She had been at the park, and I yelled at her about like, why'd you leave the water on? That could have like flooded. And I was mad at her,
Right.
She's like, I wasn't even in there. I didn't leave the water on. We were always fighting about this. One time it was the hair dryer, stuff like that. And another thing that kept happening was there was one of those like 8 panels, those above bathroom sinks. There'll be like 8 light bulbs in a row for whatever reason. It's like way overkill, but it's like light bulbs you screw in, they're sticking out.
Yeah, the big vanity.
Yeah, they would blow all the time. So I would, you'd be in there and taking a shower, and one would blow, and you'd always be repairing them. And so this stuff was just kind of happening, and we didn't think anything like paranormal about it or whatever, except for that the first thing was a little weird. But I was holding my kid one time, and down by the stairs, it's like a 2-floor like condo style apartment like thing, and I'm just at the bottom of the stairs, and my kid is pointing over in the corner saying, the two ghosts. And we're like, is he saying what I think he's saying? So and she's like, yeah, it sounds like he's like two ghosts. He had a little bit of learning disabilities, maybe some high functioning autism type of stuff. He's growing out of it now. He's 19, but he was a little late speaking and things like that. But so it's every time you try to turn him, his head's locked there. Like no matter what, you can turn him all the way around, he'll spin his head around. He's determined if he has to push away from you, whatever, and he's locked onto this thing. He's saying the two ghosts. So nothing else happens that night. And another night, I'm out on the porch in front. This place is shaped like a U, so there's like a courtyard, and it's 2 floors. And the black lady, she lives on the 2nd floor, and I'm on the 1st floor. And she leans over and she goes, "Hey, is there any strange goings-ons in this place?" And I was like, "What do you mean, strange goings-ons?" Like, and so she tells me a story about how there was a man that lived in the apartment before me. I drive a cherried out black 86 Monte Carlo. I'm in my early 20s.
Sick.
So like your car is your life, you know, all my cousins have, and that was like my thing, you know, I was a mechanic and whatnot. So I got this car I'm real proud of and real loud and all this. And so she goes, he drove a car. This guy, he died in this apartment. And I'll tell you how he died in a sec. But he drove a car identical to mine, but it was white. And he was a car salesman. So he's always dressed like real sharp and stuff. Well, this guy, apparently he had a drug addiction and lost his kid. And after years of not being able to have his kid was like a 15-year-old, and he got his kid back, got custody of his son, and they were living in this apartment together. Well, the guy had went into the bathroom and used again and OD'd and died in the bathroom. And that was one of the two ghosts.
Whoa.
And right before that guy lived in the apartment, the guy that lived in there before also died in the apartment, and he died of natural causes, but he was some sort of like Belize Islander. I don't remember anymore, but it was one of those cultures where they keep you for like a week and they bring food and put fruit around and stuff. And they actually let him stay in the apartment for the whole week as family. She said family was coming and going, just hundreds of people throughout the week. So I was like, you couldn't have told me this when the U-Haul backed up. Like, you know, the last two people that lived in this apartment died. Now I got my kid pointing at these two ghosts and stuff.
Wow.
And there was a lot of like malevolent things that happened. It was all like, you know, it was all like just those little spook things, you know, like light bulbs blowing and things like that. The hairdryer was a little worrisome because that could have caught a fire. You know, it's like on by itself, just sitting in the sink while nobody's there or whatever. But
wow, that's wild. I mean, the fact that your kid is saying two ghosts, and then you hear about these two people that died in the apartment before you, that's crazy. And then the fact that he died in the bathroom, the one guy died in the bathroom, and you're experiencing all the stuff in the bathroom, the water, the lights going out in the vanity, that is crazy. Did it? How long did you stay there?
We didn't move because of that. It was a bad relationship. We ended up, you know, I lost sound from you.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm listening. You said it turned out to be a bad relationship.
Yeah, so we stayed, you know, it probably was not much longer after that we left. I'll tell you the story later, but I'm sorry, Shane. It's my video's not matching up with the voice, so it looks like you're talking when I'm talking.
Oh, sorry. You can keep going. I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you the story of where we came from before that, but there was some more malevolent kind of stories before that at the apartment we came from, which were a little, I think, more dark. I think whatever this was just, like I told you with the farmer, I think it was just people that existed, and there was some sort of something that sticks them there, either through tragedy, like the boy and his son, or, you know, I'm not sure what the dude's situation was with the Islander, but they were there together though. So according to what my son's seeing, so me and her never saw anything, so we never actually seen a thing. We just had, like, there was just light bulb stuff and that stuff happening to show it. But my kid, I think, was maybe on a different frequency, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of kids are. I think they're able to tap into this other realm and they see things. You know, we might see some other like residual stuff. I mean, some people our age do see things, but kids just I don't know, it's something about, you know, the innocence they hopefully have as a child just keeps them like open to seeing stuff, you know. And the fact that he was saying two ghosts and this lady with glaucoma says you got these two dead people is really wild. Really wild.
Yeah, it was I wish they had to advertise, you know, when they sell a house, don't they kind of have to tell you if stuff like that's going on supposedly.
I don't know. Yeah.
See, the problem with that is that no one's going to want to buy the place. So it doesn't do a whole lot for them disclosing that kind of thing.
There are people who actually want to live in houses like that, though. There's not a lot, but there are people who like seek out weird houses.
Oh, you're bringing down that bi ratio to like a decimal, though, hoping for those people to swoop in. So
yeah, like there's people who want to live in the Tate, the Sharon Tate house, which actually 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor recorded Downward Spiral in that house, and he allegedly didn't know that was the house while he was there. But it's interesting to think those two things. But man, that's a wild story, and I know you got other stories, but you should please call back and we'll talk more about them.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll take them one at a time. I don't want to. Yeah. What time do you guys start and end, and what are your days?
So
I couldn't find anything that like showed your actual schedule.
Okay, cool. We should probably add that to the description below. That's a good thing to add. So
Writing
thanks
it
for
down.
asking. So Monday through Thursday, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern time.
10 to 12. All right, cool, Shane. Thanks for taking my call, man.
Of
Good
course,
show.
man. Yeah, I appreciate it.
I know you have a rule about video only, but you think you make an exception for general?
What do you mean for like callers?
like he wants us to bring video on so we can see what this guy looks like.
I want to see general. I bet he said so. His book does exist.
Yeah.
My girlfriend found it on Amazon and sent it to me. It's $2.99.
Yeah.
And I bet you that dude's sitting in a pile of money in his underwear calling you, and I just want to know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe at some point we'll just have him on for a
I'd
while.
be curious to see what he looked like. If I could get him in here, I could see his video without broadcasting, which would be enough for me. But I would also want to show the world. So there's just the issue of we got to protect the viewers in the
Instead
show.
of a live, you did a recorded interview with them, so you could review it, and then you don't have to do it like taking any risk or whatever.
Just get him in the studio at that point.
Well, we'll see about that. I don't know if we need the sergeant from the Fourth Reich in studio just yet.
Yeah, no.
But no, it is possible. Maybe because I don't want to take away from the other callers. I want to get to so many callers, and he's got a lot to say. So maybe there is a thing. I'll put it out there because I'm sure the sergeant's listening. That maybe we do a shorter interview at some point outside of a normal show, and we'll just put it up there because I have a lot of questions. And if that
I would recommend Zoom, maybe not like in person, just for reasons.
Yeah. Safety reasons notwithstanding, of course.
Yeah, of course. For him and myself. So no, that's a good idea, dude. I appreciate that, and thanks for calling in, man. We'll talk again for sure.
All right.
Later. Another awesome, fun episode. Thank you guys so much for calling in. I am so sorry we didn't get to all these people, but I hope you call back tomorrow night. Brandon, do you want to tell them where they can find you?
You can find me at Brando Inverted on X and Insta. And I see you guys that are left over in chat. I will try to bring you guys up tomorrow if you guys want to call back. So yeah, just hit us up tomorrow. We'll go from there. Shane, get us out of here.
Sweet. Thank you guys so much for calling in, for tuning, for liking, subscribing, sharing it. It's been a real pleasure. This is almost the end of our fourth week with the new schedule. It's been great. It's been great to have Brandon back in the room, and we will be back tomorrow night. You can find me everywhere online at Shane Cashman. It's typically the best way to hit me up if you want to run a story by me, but you guys know the phone lines are open 10 to 12 Monday through Thursday, and we will see you tomorrow. Good night.